What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode today. As you can see, I've got a couple faces here. One regular, one joins us only when he has the time to, because he has other more important things to be doing a lot of the time, so I don't blame him. But
Nothing's more important than this, Ray.
We've got a guest joining us today, and we're going to talk some Orange County Soccer Club soccer. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm going to be taking you through this journey tonight as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. And joining me, as he has since the beginning of this season at least, we've got Brad up in Reno. Brad, how's it going to be the first co-host introduced? I think you've had it one other time, but
yeah, I think the only other time was when it was just you and me, and Dylan made his 30-second appearance. I'm waiting for Dylan to make his 30-second appearance this episode because he has a streak to maintain. But in the off chance he doesn't show his face for 10 seconds, I'll be the longest tenured consecutive co-host, and I missed like one episode this season.
That is true, unless Alan makes an appearance. If you're wondering, where Dylan is, he's MIA, and where Alan is, well, there's a SD Loyal match going on, and he, I guess, talks about them a little bit from time to time and covers them a little bit. So we let him off the hook, but he may pull a Dylan and try and join us at the very end of the episode. Hey, we've got another excellent co-host joining us today, though, and that is Andy from County Line Coalition. Andy, you're repping the CLC instead of Dylan today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on today.
And I'm digging the jersey. It looks like we had the same idea in mind when we decided to go live. There was no coordination on this, but you said before we went live that was a Father's Day gift. What an amazing family you have getting you that for Father's Day.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I try not to screw up too much, and they reward me once in a while.
They reward you with an amazing looking soccer kit. So happy Father's Day belated. I don't even think we really said that on here when that was coming around the corner or even right after it happened. So belated happy Father's Day coming up on another holiday this weekend and 4th of July. We're going to talk about what happened. It seems like such a long time ago since Orange County took the pitch. It was last Wednesday against Los Dos. We'll talk about that. We'll also preview the upcoming match, another weekday match here against Colorado Springs. But before we do so, we do have a guest. We're changing up the flow of things here just a bit. We have a guest joining us on here on this episode, and that is a defender for your Orange County Soccer Club, and who I am going to say I'm proud was my number one pick in our fantasy draft for Playing for Pride, and that is Brent Richards. Brent, welcome to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
We're excited. I was stoked when the club said that they're going to let you come and talk to us a bit, especially with, Playing for Pride and the month of June wrapping up here. There is a match, I believe, the first, but I don't think that counts in any way with that. Let me talk to you really quick about this. What got you involved with Playing for Pride, and how did you do this year, and what kind of donation are you making for that?
So this is my either 4th or 5th year doing it, and how it happened was I had a teammate buddy and when I was back in Reno, Antoine Hopino, and he had a former teammate that started this in Austin Duluth, and he recognized that LGBTQ plus people are not represented in the way they should be in sports and in life, and so he wanted to make a change in that. So he started this Playing for Pride Month during the month of July, where we give what we can and we kind of link it to our play and our stats on the field, and we try and get as many people involved in it as possible. And we've raised quite a bit of money the last 4 or 5 years in it. So it's been really good.
Yeah, it's one of the things when we first started this pod, Dylan and myself, it was like I think we started a couple weeks before the month of June, a few seasons back. And June came around, we found out about Playing for Pride, and we're like, how can we participate in this? So we didn't have a fantasy soccer league at that point. We just sort of did a pledge to donate goals, just like we did this season. So we're super stoked. We're big supporters of the cause, and we appreciate you being a big vocal point of that. And like I said, again, thank you so much for that, because I didn't know who on the club was going to be participating, but when I drafted, I had this feeling that you may participate in that, and that's why I made you the number one pick. And you didn't disappoint with some of your stats. You definitely were one of my top performers. Unfortunately, my team didn't win, but that was maybe some shoddy drafting by me. I drafted a player not even on the roster, another player that didn't see any minutes, and yet I didn't come in last place. That is the honor of last place goes to Brad up there in Reno, who used to
Brad,
be a fan of you in Reno.
I expect so much better from you, Brad.
Sorry to let you down, Brent.
It's the thought that counts. I appreciate it.
Have you been able to tally up what your donations are this year, or is it a little too close to the end of the
I
month
have. So since we had our last game in June back on Wednesday and ended in a tie, I think my total comes out to, I think, $60. But we're going to round it up to 100 because why not, right? We can just include, we're planning to get a win on Thursday on the 1st of July. So whatever we get in that, we'll just add on to that. And 100's a nice round number. And we had some people from our front office give $100 as well, a couple people. And then I had some friends hop on and give $100 as well. So I'm going to do the same.
I think altogether we're going to at least get to that $100 point, probably even more based on our contributions. And then all of the losers of our Playing for Pride, we all committed to donating if we didn't win. Dylan luckily didn't lose. He actually won the league. I don't know if he's still planning on donating though, just for the cause, or what you're doing, Dylan.
Yeah, I was going to jump in and say, well, hello everyone. But also, yeah, I might have won, but this is money towards a great cause, and it's fun. And I'm used to already donating money for Playing for Pride, so yeah, I'm in.
That's so excellent.
I'm excited. Yeah, no, it's great, and I'm glad, Brent, that we have a player this year that is there, because it wasn't, sure, but just another, it's no reason you were so well loved in Reno and here and in Portland. So I'm thrilled.
I mean, right. Brent was loved so much. Brad followed he changed his podcast allegiance down to Orange County to follow Brett down here. Let's move on. Let's talk about, you've had now a couple months now of actual game time with the club, maybe 3 months with the team and including some of the training. How's it going? Have you fully integrated into this squad, or is the squad still trying to figure out the nuances of playing together, especially dealing with all those injuries recently?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely made progress from where we were at the beginning of preseason. And yeah, we have had to deal with some big injury issues and kind of been short on a few places that we didn't expect to be. But I think that you can tell from our results in June that we have made great progress. We were undefeated in the month of June. We had several wins and a couple ties. And we talked about, we didn't play really, really great in all of those matches. Some of them we felt like we dominated and we did really well in defensively and offensively. But then some of them we kind of squeaked out a 1-0 win here and kind of squeaked out a tie here. And so, but that's how the game, it's a tough league, and we've realized that, and we know that good teams need to be able to get those results when you're not necessarily playing as well as you would like as a team, or for me individually had some bad games as well. But the fact that we're still getting results in those games where we weren't as good as we wanted to be is a really good sign for where we are as a group.
I mean, ultimately, a result of some sort is always better than no result at all.
Yeah,
and we're now heading into this congested month of July. I think this is something we've talked about numerous times, and I'm sure the players and the coaching staff have mentioned it and sort of figured out what the plans are going to be for that. So we're anticipating a lot of rotation. The good thing, at least in your position with the defense, there seems to be a solid group of players that you can rotate around. 3 solid quality wingbacks. Or fullbacks, and then 3 or 4 solid quality central defenders. How does that benefit the team with this crazy congestion that's coming up? I think it's like 7 or 8 matches in the month of July.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really valuable that we've got depth at those positions, and at a lot of our positions, guys can step up. And you saw that we did a little bit of rotation in June as well, and I think you're right. It's going to come up in July, and we feel really confident in everybody that we have at every position. Like a lot of guys can play on the right side center back, can play on the left side center back. Some can play on the right side fullback. A lot of can play on the left side fullback as well. So I think that's really, really going to help us in this stretch where it's going to be a tough month for sure, and we're going to want to keep ourselves fresh and want to keep getting results in every game. So the fact that we have such depth at our defensive positions and in the midfield and forward as well is really going to help us.
Yeah, we've seen some of the forward depth already come into play, and an amazing sort of storyline for Orange County early on the season has been the scoring presence of Ronaldo Damas or Damas. I don't know. Can you share with us what's the correct way to say his last name?
Damus. Ronaldo Damus.
Damus. All right, because I've heard it's sort of like last season with our goalkeeper. Man, the name is just leaving me right now. Dylan,
Frederick.
jump on and save me. Frederick Do or Frederick Dua or Due or whatever anyone would say. So it's always going to get crazy. And even with the coach, we have that. What's been your take on Ronaldo so far this season? And is he even a surprise to some of the players on the roster and how well he's doing?
I don't think it's a surprise to the guys on the roster, because if I know that we played several preseason games and those were closed to the public, but he came on in those. It didn't necessarily start in all of them, but came on and did really, really well in those. So we knew that he was going to be a factor this year. And even though he wasn't starting at the beginning of the year and then we had some injuries, you could tell that in those preseason games, this guy's going to get some looks for sure. And he had a ton of success at the team he was at last year and the year before that. So you knew that this guy could score goals, and maybe he hadn't been hurt around this league, around the championship, USL championship yet, but a lot of potential. And he's showing it already.
And the cool thing is he's always seems to be doing it with a big smile on his face, whether he's exhausted after 93 or 4 minutes of running around an entire pitch like crazy. He's still just always smiling. Is that infectious? Does his happiness of the game, love of the game, sort of follow on to his teammates, yourself included?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there is a bit of a language gap. His English is pretty good, but sometimes have to slow down when I'm speaking. I speak quickly sometimes, so I have to slow down sometimes. But he always comes into the locker room every day with a big smile, and goes onto the field with a smile and leaves the field with a smile. And then we get the GPS running numbers, and it's insane how much he runs and how much sprinting he does. So he loves the work. He embraces it, and he does a really good job with it. He's a good professional.
Brent, you are 31, so a happy belated birthday to you, well over a month after the fact. And apologies for being that late, but if we just look at some of the stats, 6 appearances for the Timbers, quite a few for the reserve team, and quite a few for the youth team, Timbers as well, and then 101 appearances up in Reno, which, yes, Brad is definitely very familiar with, and had the honor of wearing the armband as well up there. How does a successful and a pretty long career at this point help you out this season and help you out with some of the younger players that are on this roster with you?
I think my experience is going to help a lot, and we have several guys in this locker room, obviously, and Michael Orozco and some of the other ones that are experienced as well have been in the game for some of them. I think Mike had been in it for like almost 18 years or something like that. And so I think in a season that's unique like this, where it's condensed because of COVID, we started a little bit later, that experience is going to be really, really helpful. And like I said, we're able to rotate guys in and out, and guys with experience can lead the younger guys, like you said, the Kobe's and the Francises that are very, very, show a lot of potential, really, really great guys, and are learning how to be good pros, showing them how to take care of themselves and how to go into training every day and go in with the right mindset. And even when things are going poorly or things are going well, we've got guys that have that experience and that have been captains either here or at other teams as well, and can really help along those younger guys. And I think that's what our staff wants from us. That's exactly what they want from us. That was one thing that they told me when I was thinking about coming here. And I said, yeah, I enjoyed being that leader, that captain presence at Reno. And I like bringing those younger guys along and showing them things that have worked for me and things that have kept me in the game for, like, this is my 10th professional year. So we've just started the season basically, but I think it's going to be really fun watching these younger guys progress, because they've already shown us that they're very, very good players. They have a ton of potential, and they have good heads on their shoulders as well. So really excited to see what they do.
Oh my God, that's great to hear. A follow-up question for you. Like I said, you spent time in Portland and you spent time in Reno. So I know it gets hot in Reno, but certainly not as humid. And into the month of June and especially July, which has been pretty humid here lately. How are you personally faring with the pretty big weather change?
I mean, I got used to the heat in Reno, and like I was expecting to come down here because I know that we'd come here a few times, and I swear there was 1 or 2 games where it was 100 degrees and really humid. So that's what I was expecting when I came down here, and those were some of the toughest games I can remember. I just remember feeling miserable during and after those games. So it's been kind of a pleasant surprise coming here. And like, yeah, it's warm, but it's great. I haven't had any issues with it yet, but maybe I'm speaking too soon, and the July and August is going to really get to me, but we'll see.
Yeah, temper those expectations. Be careful.
Yeah, I've got a really big water jug that I take around me everywhere. Kind of the guys on the team kind of make fun of me for it, but I'm going to be making a lot of use of that, I think, in the coming months.
Alrighty, so my first question for you is, you've played LA Galaxy 2 twice. I'm kind of reflecting back on last week's game. The first one was a 3-4 loss. The second one was a 1-1 draw, and they were almost a month apart from each other. How does the team look at that matchup against the LA Galaxy 2, and what changed in that month of how you guys played to where it was both games were very close, but to where this one was a lot less high scoring than that first one?
Yeah, so the first one I think was a bit of a fluke for us, because up until that point we hadn't given up a whole lot of goals in preseason games and games leading up to that point. We'd been pretty solid defensively, and I think we've analyzed that game a little bit, and I kind of recognized moments. Okay, well, maybe we didn't set the tone properly in the very, very first play of the game, very first few minutes. We weren't getting stuck in tackles, and that kind of defined the rest of the game, and it kind of got out of control really, really quickly. And so maybe that was a good thing. Maybe it was a good thing for us to get a bit of a wake-up call and say, hey, we need to approach every game with the right mindset and know that, hey, we need to be getting stuck in on the first tackle. We need to be bringing the right presence to the game and setting the tempo and setting the standard, whereas we didn't in the first one. And then in this the game against Los Dos last week, we started really, really well. Got off and scored a goal really early, and it was possibly looking like, hey, we could get some more. We're getting chances, but then realized the game was much more open. The field is huge. We're there at Galaxy's home field, and so we kind of settled down a little bit, but felt pretty good defensively for most of the game. We obviously gave up a goal soon after we scored one, and then it was that way for the rest of the game. So overall, we feel we obviously defended better than we did in the game before, which is a great thing, obviously, but kind of struggled with that. I don't know if it was the big field or what to kind of put more goals in after that. So obviously take the positive of not getting scored on 4 times, but we obviously hope to score more goals.
Alrighty. My next question is, so throughout your career, you've played a bunch of different positions. I believe you were a striker in college, and then you moved back to defense once when you started your pro career. And then when you were in Reno, you played a couple of games where you were swapped up to striker halfway through. How do you look at how your game as a striker from your prior engagements in college translates to your professional career over the last 10 years?
Well, I still joke that, I just got introduced as a defender. It's like, and in my mind, I'm still a striker. I still love scoring goals. I still think of myself as a forward, but obviously I've played a lot more games at defense since then. But yeah, it's there's still that part of me that was an attacker for the majority of my life, and my first several years as a professional, like, actually in Portland, I was mainly an attacker as well, and then kind of realized, like, hey, I might be able to do this better if I learn a new position, this outside back, right back, or left back. And so kind of transitioned towards that, because I hoped that I would get to play longer if I did that. And I think it was a positive thing. But obviously, that being somebody that still wants to attack and whose first instinct is to get forward, outside back is a perfect position for me. And I obviously want to do a good job defensively, but I think at this club especially, and back in Reno as well, they expected me to get forward as much as possible and help out in that attack too. So I embrace that. I love that. It's the best part of it. I'd rather attack all day than defend all day. So definitely my past as an attacker translates into how I play now.
Hey, Brent, it's Andy from County Line Coalition. Thanks for coming on tonight. I want to think back to the game in Las Vegas, and what was that feeling when you took that throw in that resulted in a goal? What was that like?
Oh, it was great. You always want to be involved in goals, and with you got guys like Rob and Edo and these other great guys and Michael that are awesome in the air and winning headers. Like, if I get it in there, we're gonna get a chance. And Rob been getting his head on things all night, and so I was like, if I can just get it in the right place, we'll have a pretty good shot for a goal. And we've been pretty good on set pieces, and so to actually have it come off, he got a great header. It was kind of like still headed it backwards, just right in that perfect spot where the goalkeeper couldn't get it. So obviously excited to be a part of a goal, and it's fun. And we felt that we deserved to win that game, and to get that third goal was huge for us.
Excellent. And I do have another question too. So I think Brad was saying how you've had like 1,000 different positions you've played, and about 10,000 games you've played, however many the number was.
Almost.
Yeah, close, right? Like 9,099 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously you've faced a lot of teams on a lot of different players in a lot of different positions and leagues, but who's been the mark you had that kind of stuck out the most of, wow, that guy was really hard to defend against, or really hard to break through, or whatever it is?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I've definitely had games where I was like, ooh, I felt like that guy got the better of me on a few of them, but I'm not sure. What comes to mind right now is Santimar, who at Phoenix has been doing such a great job this year, and played against him for several years now, and obviously is very, very good on the ball. And I think we've been pretty evenly matched when we've played each other, but he's always a handful. And after the game, we're usually like, wow, that was a lot of fun, but that was really hard. I think we both have a mutual respect for each other, but he's clearly been doing really, really well this year, and I'm embracing that challenge and looking forward to it.
Andy, any more from you?
No, do you want me to ask more questions? Because I'm sure I can come up with some.
No,
Go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead, Dylan.
Don't drag him too much, right? He'll be here all night. He'll be late to training in the morning. We are going to drag you a little bit through the mud here. Brent, after stalking your Instagram a little bit, I did find that you happened to read a book called Americana a few years ago, which really says how far back I went. But,
yeah, you went deep.
Yeah, I really did. I'm really ashamed.
One of Reno.
Yeah, let me just point it out that I'm very ashamed of doing that. Do you have a literature recommendation for right now? That's something you've been reading either recently or even right now?
I'm on a big fantasy kick right now. A couple of teammates I have here, and then former teammates, we are very into fantasy books, and one of our favorites is The Name of the Wind. It's going to be a 3-book series. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it'll be a 3-book series, and only the first 2 are out, and it's fantastic. But reading another fantasy book right now called The Way of Kings, and that one's a little out there as well, but very nerdy, very geeky, but a lot of fun.
No, this is a judgment-free zone when it comes to literature, or at least for me, it's a judgment-free zone. My next and I think final question for you, Brent, is perhaps even worse. What is your favorite vegetable? And
My
how do you
favorite
prepare it?
vegetable. Ooh, good question. I don't know. This might be a bit of a boring answer, but I'm a big fan of asparagus. Love it. Just salt and
Feel bad
pepper,
for your
olive oil.
roommates.
Well, I'm not peeing on them or anything, so
You'd be
No, asparagus,
surprised,
it's
Brent,
easy.
how many of your teammates have said asparagus. It's more than one.
I know. I was figuring it's probably not that all of exciting of an answer, but it's a tremendous vegetable. I stand by my answer.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
I'm gonna throw it to Brad. I think Brad has one question, and since you all have that Reno connection, I want to give him an opportunity to wrap things up with you. So go for it, Brad.
All right, so my first question is, I mean, both relate to your time with Reno, but my first one is, over the years, you've played against some of your former players, Tucker Bone, who's now with Sacramento, Corey Herzog with San Diego, Danny Musovsky with Vegas. I could go on, but you get the idea.
Mhm.
What's it like playing against a former teammate now that you got Jimmy Ockford coming up next week in Colorado, someone who I'm sure you haven't seen in a long time? What's it like playing against a former ally?
Oh, it's fun. I think I have a good relationship with all of those guys that you just mentioned, and obviously when we get on the field, we want to do as well as possible, and we're familiar with each other, and so I think they kind of know some of my tendencies, and I definitely know some of their tendencies, and so we're always trying to get the best of each other on the field, and in that sense. But during it, obviously it's a battle, and we want to win, but afterwards we're still friends, and it's great.
All right, my second question I asked to Seth Kasipli a couple weeks ago, and he gave the right answer.
Oh
Not to
man,
put you on the spot,
I
but
imagine I'm going to give the wrong one then.
ooh, you have now spent time in Orange County and Reno. Which city did you like living in better?
Oh well, that's a tough question. I will say that it is undecided so far. I've only been here for a handful of months, and I was in Reno for 4 years, and I loved Reno. My first year was a bit hectic, getting used to it, but quickly embraced it. That's why I kept coming back year after year. But obviously, I have a lot of fond memories when I was in Reno, but I've been having a great time here in Orange County as well already.
All right, appreciate the cop-out answer.
Hey, Brent, I know I said I was going to give it to Brad for the final answers, but we did have someone on Facebook jump in and throw a quick question. So give a quick answer on this. They want to know, do you hear the supporters while you're in the game, the matches, playing the game, and do they energize you out there with all the loud noise that they have going on?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I came from Portland where we have a great tradition of the Timbers Army, and they're loud. You can't hear a thing on the field. And then obviously Reno as well. We had the Battleborn Brigade there, and they were loud, and you couldn't hear a thing on the field there. And so coming here, I was like, I wonder if it's going to be the same sort of thing. It's kind of a smaller stadium, and I don't know what the fan numbers are going to be like, but it's exactly the same, if not better. But we've talked about it. So I'm having trouble talking to the guy on the opposite side of the field, and coach is telling me, you need to be louder, yell louder. And so it's definitely something that helps. And we love to play in front of a good atmosphere and a loud atmosphere with fans that want to be chanting and singing the whole game. I've heard some of the chanting and singing. Somebody's got a great singing voice out there. I've heard some like vibrato and everything. It's great.
It's awesome. I love hearing. Yeah, Dylan's one of those ones that you could probably hear when he's out there in the fan group, in the supporter section.
Never, man.
And then also, where he's blushing. That's what he's trying to say right now. Brent, I don't want to take you up at any more of your time. I want to let you go. But really quick, I had one last thing I want to say. I know I already thanked you for your contributions to Playing for Pride, but I also want to thank you because when I spoke to you at Media Day, you gave a shout out to Patch Coffee. And I actually checked that place out a few weeks back, and it's definitely worth the recommendation that you gave. I should have asked you at that time what to order from there. Can you just tell me right now, what should I order coffee wise when I'm there next time? Because I think I just ordered a regular a coffee. So what's the go-to drink there?
Oh man, I haven't been branching out a whole lot. I've had their lattes, their cappuccino, and then I tried a I tried a dirty chai the other day, and all of them have been great. But I would say that game day, the latte is usually my go-to. I'm drinking black coffee during the week normally, and so on the weekend on game day, I'll have a latte at Patch.
Awesome. Perfect. Any last words to any of the fans that may be listening to this either live or in the podcast form?
No, it's been great to have fans back at the stadium this year and back at games. So we love it, and we're having a great time and hope to keep seeing you guys out there.
Perfect. Awesome. Best of luck to you and your teammates this week against Colorado. And we'll see you back at the stadium next week, a week from today, against Tacoma at Championship Soccer Stadium. Brent, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck to you over the next matches. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
All righty. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. That's Brent Richards, defender, all-around player for your Orange County Soccer Club, and way to support him when we're out there, folks. We love hearing when the players can hear us fans out in the stands making noise. And Brent's been an awesome addition to this club this season. I think, without a doubt, he's probably one of the top signings this club made this offseason, just for what he brings, not just on the pitch, but just all around to the club. Again, supporting Playing for Pride and being a vocal leader in the clubhouse for that. Again, that's why I made him the pick. Even though I didn't know he was going to be that vocal, I made him the pick because I thought that could happen, and I was so proud of that. Let's talk about Playing for Pride, because we got 4 of the participants here. I know Andy has already, let it be known that he already made his contribution because he did not win the league. So thank you for doing that, Andy. I know I will be taking care of not just my portion, but also the podcast portion, because we did commit to $5 per goal and per shutout. So I have to go calculate that and see what we owe. But we got to give props. I think this is the first time he has won any competition we've had on our podcast. So we've got to give props to him. And that is Dylan. Dylan, how does it feel to be the winner of the 2021 Playing for Pride Fantasy Soccer competition?
It feels amazing. And I think I'm going to celebrate by going to Disney World. I think that's the appropriate response, the classic response of when you win something.
Let's reset this, Dylan. You just won Playing for Pride Fantasy Soccer 2021. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to go to Disney World, I think, but not actually. That's really far away from here, and I have no interest in going to Florida.
Why go there when you could just drive like 5 minutes to the original spot?
Yeah, no, it's great, and it's a big surprise. I mean, I really thought that Ronaldo Tamu, which I believe was my original, by the way, was my original suggestion for what his name was.
It was.
But I really thought Andy was going to take it, so I'm ecstatic to have picked up the victory here.
Let's say this, right? Andy, you need to put in your resumes to any USL club as a GM, because, dude, you picked the one guy that guy had probably 90% of your points in this competition, and you did not have the first pick in the draft. So you get the award for the best draft just for the picking of Ronaldo on your roster. He carries you to what, second place on this competition? I mean, dude, that dude was a beast, and you picked him at the right time because he just decided he was going to explode in the month of June. So awesome for you. How did that feel, having that guy repping you and your fantasy team during the month of June, and Orange County, of course?
Yeah, considering I'm usually pretty terrible at fantasy games, and I mean, to the point of like, I used to do fantasy football and I would forget to do my picks. So I wouldn't have a defensive line or something for a week, and I'd just stop doing them because I can't pay enough attention. But yeah, I mean, I got super lucky with Ronaldo. Avian Flanagan also started to pick up a lot more minutes there. I think if I had another week, I probably would have got a few more points from both of those guys. I kind of gambled on the Enna Voltson pick, and I knew that. But at the time, like, because of the way the picks worked in the rotation, I didn't have a lot of options by then. So I gambled, and we didn't know the extent of his injury at the time. But it's what happens, right? It's you pay your money and take your chances.
No one gambled as much as I did with the pick of Chris Cortez in the final round of that draft. But when you look at you just said it, right? When you're at that last pick, I mean, really, you're picking someone that's probably not going to make many appearances unless you just get lucky with that. So I'm like, I'm just going to go for this dark horse. What if it happens? That'd be such an amazing story. But of course, it didn't happen. I finished 4th behind Alan, who's not here again. He is focusing on San Diego. But at least I was not the worst of the 5. That award goes to the newcomer to the podcast, Brad. Hey, Brad, you know what would have happened? I'm telling you, Brad is the one that made the suggestion to change the goalkeeping scoring. And if he hadn't have done that, he may have had a chance this year. But so it's all on you, Brad. You made that choice. How does it? You got your first taste of this. Are you going to come back stronger next season?
Yeah, so what happened with me this season is I ended up, I think everybody on my roster is defensive, including McCabe, who is, I think was my 2nd or 3rd round pick, but I ended up just having a bunch of defensive players, and defensive players don't score, and they usually don't assist unless you're Rob Kiernan. So unfortunately, that's just what happened to my roster. I was this close. If Andy didn't take him, I was gonna also take Romero and just have a monopoly on the goalkeepers and double down on that. And that for sure, with that one shutout, would have put me ahead of Ray. But Andy and those meddling middle school teaching jobs just took it out from underneath me.
And their dog too.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't get that reference, you're not old enough. Although I think there are newer versions of Scooby-Doo, so maybe they do recognize that. Dylan,
So two things. One, Scooby-Doo with Sarah Michelle Gellar is classic. 2, Alan took Abraham Romero from you, not me. I had Danny Fonda.
Did I say Andy? Sorry, I meant Alan. Alan took him right before me.
I took like the last player on the roster, except for I think the academy kids that I knew weren't going to play. I just took. I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm glad he didn't get to pay, because that would have been awful to have both our goaltenders go out. I'm sure Danny's really good, but that's terrifying if you're on your 3rd string goaltender.
Okay, so Andy just did 2 things. I'm going to do 2 things right here, right? How do you say Sarah Michelle Gellar, but you leave out Matt Lillard? I mean, that's the big part of that. He played a pretty good Shaggy in that movie. And then second, maybe we're celebrating a day too early, because Alan still has the opportunity to work out something with Hunter Haynes and make that country album to win this thing. So maybe we should have waited till next week to celebrate, Dylan, or are you confident that you are the winner?
I think Mr. Haynes, or Recruit Haynes, or whatever they call him now, is a little bit busy training out there in Colorado. So maybe we can check up on him after the first and see what's going on. But I think he's a little bit too busy to be recording a country album. So I'm going to go ahead and claim this one as a 2021 victory for yours truly. And
there we go. We still have to create we got to get some sort of trophy that we can put your name on. And then we'll keep that trophy going. You can put it like in your backdrop instead of that damn blender that you have back there. You can put a trophy back there.
This is a trophy. That's so useful.
We'll make that the trophy.
Sauces.
Let's make that the trophy, Dylan. You're donating a trophy to us. Get a Sharpie, write your name 2021, and then we'll go from there.
I'll see if I can do that, but
before we move on, I just want to point out, where's the confetti? Like, you made this nice little banner that didn't really do anything, and
I can't be at Dylan's house.
Here.
I can't be at Dylan's house throwing the. Dylan, you should have got Nikki to get some confetti to throw on you, like right in your face, as we're doing this podcast. No. When we're at Championship Soccer Stadium this next week, Andy, me and you, let's buy a pound of confetti each, and when we see Dylan, we're gonna throw it right in his face. All night long. We'll just get handfuls all night long at Dylan. We won't just do one time. And we'll wait till he's not ready for it too. We'll be like, Dylan. Andy doesn't even like that idea. I guess I'm
congratulations, Dylan.
I'm so busy now.
Congrats, Dylan.
Make this next game.
All right, let's do this.
I'm excited.
Go ahead, Dylan.
And I will be kicking some dollars. I'll match the podcast donation, and we'll donate another good batch of money to another great cause. So
Yes,
I'm happy
awesome.
to win after Utah really bummed me out last year.
Let's do this. We have to talk about a match, and then we have to preview a match. We only have a little bit of time to do so. Let's talk about this match against Los Dos a week ago, pretty much last Wednesday. 1-1 draw, but it nearly became a 1-2 loss for Orange County. In the final seconds, LA had a really good opportunity with a cross in front of the goal that somehow doesn't hit the back of the net. I'm going to head to you first, Dylan, to hear your words on that match. What were your thoughts on the match and Orange County's performance in LA or in Carson?
I don't want to say I'm a savant, but I do believe that I predicted if we scored in the first 10 minutes, we wouldn't hold out for 3 points. But I did say that a draw would be a fair result, and I think it was. Los Dos really threatened there at the end, and I thought Kevin Alston did really well just to, I believe, put Preston Judd off for the finish of that one. Doesn't really matter who it was, but oof. And Brian Olowski got away with what definitely should have been a red card. But you know what? Sometimes it's like that Oakland match. Sometimes you play not too great. Sometimes you miss chances and you don't get a ton of chances. And you still end up with a point. You win home and draw away, and that's usually considered successful.
Colorado, someone
did
who
that
I'm
here.
sure you haven't seen in a long time. What's it like
And
playing
I
against
don't know why Brad
a
is
former ally?
having
it's
audio come
I
through, but
think I
that's
have
cool.
a good relationship with all of those guys that you just
Yeah, I
mentioned.
don't know why either. It's interesting. There's audio coming through from earlier in the
That was
show.
like 15 minutes
I think it was
ago.
Andy. Andy's admitting to it. He was reviewing some earlier bits of the show while you were talking, Dylan. So he's A, admitting that he was the culprit, and B, he wasn't listening to you, Dylan, by the way.
Yeah. Some added thoughts.
Let me-
The refereeing was not great, but this is the USL, so I'd be really surprised. That was a gifted handball for Los Dos there late on. And maybe that's the sympathy call that gets Brian Olowski not sent off. And he's a player we're going to need in the next couple of weeks, so it's all right. But it's not a bad result. I mean, we have to remember that Los Dos might be a 2 team, but they are a very good 2 team. And if you can do stuff like win home and draw away against really good sides like Los Dos, then you probably end up towards the top of the table at the end of the year.
Let me jump to Andy really quick. What was going on in your mind on that no call handball that Dylan just referenced? I was pulling my hair out. I was yelling. I was on Twitter, just like upset about this. Were you as upset as I was about the no call, or is that something you can say it happens?
Yeah, I mean, it happens, right? I would have to look at it again to decide if that was a bad call or a missed call or whatever it is. I know there's been a lot of talk on the social media that it was clearly a handball and this and that. And, with the handball, the new handball guidance that they've come out with in March, I think it was. And no, Russell, the rule didn't change. I know. But the guidance has changed. There's been clarification on what a handball is and isn't. And I don't know if players really know quite what a handball is. I know some of the referees don't know what a handball is. I know a lot of fans don't know what a handball is. My personal feeling, and this goes for any team, if one call or one missed call decides the game, I don't think that's fair. We had chances and we couldn't put them away. One missed handball should not decide victory or not for you. Unless you're talking about like a Luis Suarez, like swatting the ball out of the air. Okay, I'll give you that one.
Let me ask you, Brad, the same type of question. Do you agree with Andy's assessment on that, or do you think that should have been a call?
Honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat with Andy. It happens. I don't know what the referee was doing at the time, if he was watching the play as closely as we were from TV, where we get the option to pause, rewind, look at it again. If you're going to have rules that not change, but the guidance changes on what a handball is, because there has to be clear intent. You might as well have VAR, and obviously, I don't believe that's coming to USL anytime soon with how some of the teams, I'm just thinking of Oakland, who have their cameras on a boom lift right on the far side of the stadium, with how some of the teams just slop together some camera equipment. I don't think anytime soon will be happening for VAR or anything like that.
So, with that result, though, at least it was a 1-1 draw. It didn't end because the final moments of that match could have been disastrous for Orange County. How many of you were worried that that ball was going into the back of the net? Raise your hand if you thought that ball was going to the back of the net in the final, seconds, literally seconds of the match, because I think it was right after that happened, the ref blew the final whistle. But Orange County comes out victorious. They get the point, which is very important at this point because you have teams like San Diego that are on a pretty nice run right now, and they're looking very dangerous. So you got to at least get results. I know it's not the 3 points we were all hoping. If that handball would have been called, we get the 3 points and we're a lot happier, but at least it's a point. And I think it's Alan, who's not here right now, who always says, get at least a point on the road and shoot for 3 at home and you're happy. So we did that. Although we dropped to the 3 at home to LA, we at least got the point on the road in the return match, and we'll have other opportunities against them. So with that said, I don't have the standings in front of me as we speak, but I'm going to try and pull those up right now. So just bear with me one moment. I believe it looks like San Diego is currently leading in their match against Oakland. So at this point, they are going to hold on to second. They're already in second. And we're sitting in third because of that result. And LA Galaxy is the team sitting in fourth. So if you're looking at, I know it's really early, but those are the positionings where we are for the playoffs. Is this a good spot for Orange County to be right now, Dylan, at this point of the season, heading into this crazy month of July that we have?
It's a great spot to be in because if we look at games played, Orange County's in third place from 8 matches played. The only team that's played less matches with us, and I believe this is in the entirety of the league. Excuse me, there are 3 teams that have played less matches than us. We've got 4 teams. Oakland Roots have played 6 matches, and they also don't look super sharp at the moment. But 14 points from 8 is pretty fair. Andy, Superfan Andy, right up over there, did the math a couple days ago about how many points on average each team in the league does, or I should say earns per game. And Orange County is, I believe, right under 2 or 1.5. So we're right about there. And let's be real, we're missing a lot of attacking firepower at the moment. And Adam John and Thomasina Wilson, who are, those are guys that can easily score 15 goals in this league each. So we got to make it work. And to answer the question, I know we're a little bit late. I see Orange County's top 2 spots. Depending on how things go in Phoenix, I can see this. I can see this Orange County team, and depending on how guys get fit as the season wears on, I can see this Orange County team challenging for the top spot in the Western Conference.
You're muted. You're pulling a Brad.
Oh, yeah. Way to pull a Brad, Ray.
Way to pull a Brad. I was muted. You know why I was muted? I was cracking open my next drink and I didn't want to make the noise on the show. So that's why I was muted. 3 games in hand on San Diego. San Diego's only 3 points ahead of us at this point with the result staying the way it is. That's a good spot to be in. I know it's early in the season, Andy. Are you happy with where Orange County is right now? And do you agree with Dylan in his assessment that we're probably a top 2 team and maybe competing with Phoenix for that top spot, depending on how things go in Phoenix?
Yeah, I like Dylan said, I did some math and over our team's history, and let's be honest, a lot has changed in the last 10 years at our club. We over that entire time to the end of last season, we averaged around 1.5 points a game, 1.47 or 1.48, something like that. And so far this year, we're at 1.75. I would probably have to look at it and see what our points per game were kind of like for the modern OCSC, not counting LA Blues or OC Blues, because it was completely different organization, budget, all that stuff. But it's I don't want to say it's early, but I think we'll play our 10th game here soon, and that's kind of the point for me where you get a good sense of, okay, this is what our team is capable of. Thomas Enevoltson will be back, I think, in a couple weeks. I think I heard him say the other day that he'll get about half the season once he's back from his knee injury. I don't know about Adam John. I don't know about Seth Kasipli. Two of those guys are worth 10 goals each, right? At least 10 goals each for the season. So, we're kind of finding ways to win without them, but it's not pretty, and it's nerve wracking. Even yesterday, or not yesterday, the last game with Galaxy, a 1-1 draw. I mean, it was nail biting to the very end. So am I happy with where we're at? I'm happy with the points we've accumulated so far. Game to game, I can see where we struggle a little bit in some things. I would like to see us, sometimes be a little more deliberate with possession, especially transitioning from the middle third to the attacking third. There just seems to be a lot of time not spent in the attacking third. There's a lot of time spent, transitioning from defensive to mid. I would like to see the ball move forward a little bit more and threaten on goal a little bit more. But, again, we got a lot of guys. I don't want to say a lot, a handful of guys who are hurt, who we knew were going to be a big impact this season. So we've got a couple of new guys who are relatively new to the team and new to the system. So we're kind of hoping that as they get more minutes, they'll start contributing more as well. Am I happy right now? Yes, I'm happy right now. I would like to see some things be a little bit tighter and a little bit, I don't want to say aggressive, but a little more assertive in the attacking end.
Yeah, so here's what I have to say on all this is I'm going to take last season as an outlier, but typically, at least in my experience with Braden Cloutier teams here in Orange County, is we have strong performances in the second half. It usually takes a little bit of time for the team to figure out their identity and make things work. So yeah, last season was weird because of COVID and all the craziness that happened. So I'm looking at this season being back to norms. So being at this spot with games in hand, and we're heading into this I think this month right here, July, is going to sort of determine what this season is going to be for Orange County. If we can end July in a reasonable situation in the table, and look like we're finding our things, that'll be great. It's going to all depend on the roster and how they're able to perform with this. At least we have some depth, maybe slight lacking of depth up top, but we'll see. Brad, I'm going to give you last word on this before we move on to quickly preview the Colorado Springs match. Your thoughts on Orange County's spot on the table and how this is going to either work or hurt them come the end of the season.
Yeah, so definitely agree with all you guys. 3 games in hand, 3 points behind second place in the Western Pacific is a great place to be. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this crazy month of July. I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be able to join 2 of these games. But this is 8 games in 4.5 weeks. It's going to be a absolute crazy slate of games going on. So who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully the team can stay fit. Hopefully we do get players like Enevoltson back over the next couple of weeks, because we know that depth is going to be important. And then some of these games are going to be against teams that have performed pretty well. Sacramento twice this month is going to be tough. San Diego's on a really hot streak, and we go away to them on a Wednesday. Rio Grande Valley's had a decent season, and Colorado's also had a slightly decent season too. So, gonna be an interesting month to see. And hopefully we're challenging for a playoff spot, not just a playoff spot, but home games at the end of October this season. I don't remember. I think it's top 2 in the Western Pacific go to home games, and top 4 make playoffs in the Pacific. So hopefully we make it.
Hopefully we do. To start that all up, we have to start strong. What is it? Thursday, I believe, is the date against Colorado Springs in Colorado Springs. Big matchup against an out of like regional area opponent. It's going to be interesting. We've already been there. We've already played on that pitch. So that's at least sort of an advantage. Most teams heading out there this season haven't played on that pitch. So we have a little bit of an advantage on there. Dylan, thoughts on the match quickly, because we don't have much time. Thoughts on the match, and then we'll do predictions once we're all done.
Okay, this is Philadelphia. I'm sorry. Let me back this one up a little bit. This is Bethlehem Steel West, or perhaps Midwest. I don't know. Andy can chime in with that one. Colorado Springs is a good team. They've had a slow start. They play at an incredibly high elevation, which is something like 6,600 feet, which is double a Reno, which most people usually say is a pretty high elevation to play at. It is the highest stadium in the contiguous United States, if that helps anything. But they're a good side, and it's going to be a difficult one. Thankfully, we have a good bit of rest heading into this one, so it's not going to be easy. We watched them dismantle New Mexico, and we'll have to be probably on our A game to get a result from this one. I'm not going to lie. That being said, brand new stadium, which means much, much, much better turf, because the old grass at the old Weidner Stadium was awful. I do mean truly awful. Balls taking bobbles all the time. So Orange County has to be good. Sorry, that wasn't short at all, but you know.
Brad, your thoughts? I know you're mentioning on the private chats here that there's definitely a much higher altitude than Orange County for this. Does that impact? I mean, Orange County went out to the extremely hot Vegas and came away with 3 points. They surely can do the same in the high altitude, right? Pulling array. He's pulling array, everyone.
He's pulling a Brad.
I'm muted again. Oh man.
For shame.
I mean,
even
Reno's
Andy,
4,500,
and even Andy, hold on. Even Andy, who joins us once in a blue moon, is pretty much always unmuted when he starts to talk. I'm just gonna go, and I was part of that. I messed up there too. Go, Brad.
All right, so Reno's 4,500. I looked it up. Colorado Springs is 6,000. So not quite as much as Reno, but it's a lot different coming from 0, which is where you guys are at or close to. So definitely the elevation's going to play a factor in it. Colorado Springs is a good team. Got to look out for players like Haji Berry, who will score and have scored a lot this season. I don't remember where he was before Colorado, or if he's been in Colorado since a while. But they've come off a good string of games too. They've beaten Austin Bold, they've beaten Tacoma Defiance and New Mexico United, and all those games, what they have in common is they can score goals. 3 against New Mexico, 3 against Austin, and 4 against Tacoma. So defense needs to really step up against Colorado Springs this week in order to really have a result on the road. So hopefully they can keep a hot team from not scoring.
And Andy, I'm going to jump to you for the final thoughts on this match against Colorado Springs for Orange County.
I don't know if I have anything to add. Manage the altitude and the physical exertion. Like we always say, don't concede early. Contain their attackers. And is it Haji Berry on their team that's so hot right now? Is that the guy? Contain those guys that are known to score goals, and our players up front are going to have to really earn their pay this week.
Awesome. Let's go into score predictions. Before we do so, we do have our competition that we have this season that we introduced, where we're doing a see how well we predict scores on these matches this season, heading into tonight's or this week's match. Dylan, you're leading in this as well, man. You're on fire right now. After a perfect prediction last week, a 1-to-1 prediction, you got a full 10 points which has definitely helped you out in your scoring for this. So the current scoring, and I messed up on the typing, so I apologize if you're watching live, but Dylan is in first with 28. Brad has 21. I'm at 15, so at least I'm not in last. And Alan is with 14. I've reached out to try and get a prediction from Alan because, again, he's not here. So what I may do is I just might make the executive decision and let Andy predict the score for Alan this week, as long as Dylan and Brad are up to that and Andy's up to doing that. But we're going to do score predictions. So, again, the way this competition works is we predict the score of the match. If we predict the correct score line, we're going to get 4 points. And if we predict either of the team's correct score, then we also get an additional 3 points for each of those. So you can get a max 10. That's how Dylan got that. He predicted 1-1 for Orange County against Los Dos. I haven't heard back from Alan. So really quick, Dylan, Brad, are you fine if Andy picks for Alan, or do we give him a goose egg and do 0?
No, I'm cool with that.
And I think Andy's up to doing the predictions. So Orange County versus Colorado Springs. Give me the Orange County score first. Go your Andy for Alan.
2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. That's going to be Alan's official entry under this. Brad, what is your prediction for this match?
Even when Alan's not here, he takes my score prediction. I'm sitting here, I'm like 2-2 sounds fair, and I'm going to have to go with it. Again, Alan predicts Brad's prediction.
Dylan, what is your prediction for this match?
I watched a pretty not great Orange County win 2-1 back in July of 2019. So why not have that again? 2-1 Orange County.
2-1 Orange County. I'm going to go ahead and predict the highest scoring match on this bunch. I'm going to go 3-2 Orange County on this one. So we'll see how that goes. Again, correct outcome overall is 4 points. And then, when I say outcome, that means either you predicted a win for Orange County, a draw for Orange County, or a loss for Orange County, and then the score line. So 10 points online for everyone there. We're going to wrap things up here. Before we do so, any soccer related news anyone wants to share before we go to our random thoughts for this episode?
Euros have been fun to watch.
They have been.
That's news for you.
There is our soccer stuff. We're going to go to random thoughts now. By the way, Russell, listening on the live feed, is predicting. Wait, Andy picks 3-1 OC.
I think he was trying to give Andy some advice on how to pick for Alan.
And then Russell also wants to know, where's the official Orange and Black Soccer Cast watch party for this match? Maybe we'll go to Dylan's place. We'll go to Dylan's place and watch it there. Everyone pile into. We're going to work on it because we've done it in the past where we've set up some watch parties. We're going to try and figure out this thing again and figure out where to watch matches. I know Andy's been looking into setting up some official watch party locations. But it's difficult. It's hard to find because there's all the legality issues and stuff like that for a lot of these venues, but we'll figure something out. We'll figure out a place to watch this. But let's do this. Let's wrap things up. Let's go to random thoughts. I'm going to start off with the last person that joined our episode today, which was Dylan. Dylan, what's your random thought of the day?
Shocking that I was late. My random thought is Happy Canada Day. Wait, let me back that one up. Did you know there's no July 2nd in Canada? It's because everyone's still recovering from Canada Day. So,
He looked off to his left or his right. I can't. Sometimes it's reversed. Is he getting like this information from someone next to him? We don't know. Let's go to Andy. You're next on this. What is your random thought for this episode?
Random thought. Look up something called the 350 Project. You identify 3 locally owned businesses in your community, and you spend $50 at them every month, and that generates, some however many $1 billion of economic growth in your community. Money you spend in your community tends to stay in your community. So support your local businesses, support your local restaurants, your local stores, your retailers, all that stuff. Look for those companies that are owned by your neighbors and give them $50.
So basically you're saying don't go to Amazon or other big retailers.
I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm telling you that if you spend money at Amazon, if you spend money at a big box corporate franchise type store, not franchise, a big box corporate owned store, 0% of your $50 stays in your community. If you spend money at a business that's owned by one of your neighbors, around 68% of your dollars spent stays in your community by payroll taxes, that business paying vendors for services, printing, plumbers, electricians, that kind of stuff. You can do that with money you already spend on things and be your own economic stimulus.
I love it, Andy. I was just messing with you on my question there, by the way. I definitely try to help support. I'll admit I do buy things on Amazon from time to time, but I do try and support local businesses whenever possible. So, Dylan, don't shake your head at me. There's sometimes where you can't find something at a local business and Amazon just happens to have it. I mean, I'm not going to spend 5 hours looking for a random item that Amazon can give me in 24 hours. Brad, random thought for you.
Meant to be, man. It's not meant to
Random
be.
thought from you, Brad.
My random thought, I'm actually going to circle back over to soccer thoughts just because one just popped in my head, but that's my random thought is the Bundesliga has gone full Mingo, which is Forward Madison is now in a, I guess, direct relationship with FC Augsburg, man, I cannot talk, in the Bundesliga, which I think is pretty cool that a Division III U.S. soccer team has a partnership with a Division I German team. I think that's weird. I think that's crazy, and it's totally a Forward Madison thing to do.
Inspiring. Since Ray has left, as we have forced him out of the podcast for the second time in something like as many weeks. Oh, he's back. All right, never mind.
Oh boy.
No, I just want to jump back on just to say hi. Go ahead, Dylan.
Wait. I'm pretty sure that Brad said it was Augsburg, but I'm pretty certain that Forward Madison partnered with Eintracht Frankfurt. So,
never mind. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Yes, it is Frankfurt.
So we need to do Brad out, right?
Nobody cares.
Polonsky out, man. Polonsky out.
Polonsky out.
Polonsky out. Get out of here. I was always muted. Yeah, there he goes. Polonsky
you
out.
Just see his picture on top of a mountain of some sort. Yeah. No random thought for me because apparently people don't want to hear what I have to say when I'm talking. So I'll just shut up and we'll just wrap things up. Dylan, where can people find you on the internet when they want to listen to more that you have to say?
God, I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but if you so choose to torture yourself, you can find me on Twitter at OCSC_Dylan.
Andy, what about you?
Yeah, pass.
And my good friend Brad, who knows what it feels like to be hated on the show. Where can people listen to you? And maybe we'll team up and we'll show these other people what's up.
I'm not sure if I want to team up with you, Dylan or Ray. Wow. If you ever want to hear me say correct things and not screw up like I constantly do, at Pal on the Sky on the Twitter machine, I fact check there.
You know, he wanted to say Dylan internally, but he was trying to say me to look good. So I'm just going to put that out there. Dylan, it was you. That was the true
Dylan,
answer there.
I will team up with you any day.
If you want to hear more of what I have to say when I'm talking about Clippers or Tottenham or Orange County, you can follow me on Twitter at DJ Racemore. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at OCSC_soccercast. You can go to our website, OCSCpodcast.com, to listen to each and every episode we've put out and listen to anything we have to say, read anything we have to say if we decide to put any written stuff out or content out. We don't do that often. We're not great writers, even though some of our people claim to love books. For Dylan, for Brad, for Andy, and for our guest this week, Brent Richards, and no Alan, even though he's going to be in the credits, because I was hoping and thinking he was going to make a late appearance to keep his streak alive, but he didn't. We're going to wrap things up here. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.